Tuesday evening, 7 o'clock, time for some Toy Tuesday. Now, tonight, we're going to have a little bit of a history lesson. I'm going to do a little bit of talking. We've got a couple of very, very interesting artifacts to go with this story. One of them I just recently acquired. One of them has been part of our collection for several years. We probably bought this other piece 5 or 6 years ago. But we got another interesting piece to go with it for a very, very seldom heard of automobile. Very, very short-lived with a somewhat controversial symbol involved. Matt's here with us. So I'm hoping that YouTube doesn't pull this video because it is, at the time, was not controversial. In today's world, massively controversial. Ken's here. Alan's here, ready to go. Glad you guys are on. So we're going to get a little bit of a history lesson. Then we're going to check out these artifacts that go along with the story that are part of our personal collection. We do have some help tonight. Let's show you the help here real quick. Neil's on. Hey, help. Hey, dum-dum. There's Pete. Hey, goofball. You're in the shot. So anyway, we're going to talk about this. We're going to get a little bit of history, and then we're going to check out these artifacts. Now, what we're going to talk about tonight was a very, very short-lived automobile, 1909 to 1916, and even the 1916 production cars were leftover pieces after the company had already gone bankrupt. So we're basically looking at, the company was formed in 1909. They had problems in 1911. Nick's on with us, and production had ceased by 1916, and even those cars, Bert's here with us, were just leftover pieces from 1915. So very, very small window. One of those weird manufacturers that was very short-lived back when everybody wanted to be in the car business. Sam's here with us. There's Brian. Nothing yet, Brian. So that's what's interesting about it. And we've got a couple of pieces in our collection directly tied to these cars. So let's go ahead and get into the history of the Crit Motor Company. Crit 1909 to 1915 is what they technically called it. Mark's here. Was organized in July of 1909. So, and there again, that's another thing to think about. It was organized in July of 1909. So they weren't building cars in July of 1909. Jeff from Ottawa. So realistically, we're looking close to 1910 before they started producing. We're done by 1915. Ken from Michigan. To build a car designed by Kenneth Crittenden, who had worked at both Ford and Regal. Now you got to remember, this is in 1909. Ford had been producing cars for 5 years. Regal, a very small, very hardly known company at all. The former C.H. Blomstrom Manufacturing Company's factory on the corner of Wright and Lieb, and this was in Detroit, was acquired to build the first cars as 1910 models. The Crit Motor Company was having financial problems, and in 1911, Walter Russell of the Russell Wheel and Foundry Company led a syndicate to purchase control. A 6-cylinder was offered in 1913, but sales were down. More changes were made to streamline the body in 1915, but could still not stave off bankruptcy. So, 1910 to 1915 were realistically when they produced cars, with a few leftovers built from leftover pieces in 1916. Now, one thing that was interesting, and there's very, very little information out there about Crit, by the way, but I did find some kind of neat stuff, especially for me personally, and we've got a little bit more specific information on the Crit, but one of these websites that I found stated that while doing a Google search on my grandfather, Kenneth Crittenden, I found your website. My grandfather was a founder and vice president of engineering of the Crit Motor Car Company in Detroit. After the company folded and the Crit facilities were sold to Owen Magnetic and Packard, he worked briefly for Henry Ford. So Kenneth Crittenden actually ended up working for Ford after the fact, and was then hired by Chrysler. There's the Buick man. And he spent over 40 years with Chrysler after that. Now, what's kind of interesting is this numero uno. Badges are actually in the office. I didn't grab them. This was written by John Hinckley, also a retired senior Chrysler executive who spent his last 6 years as Viper plant manager before retiring in 2001. So I thought that was kind of interesting that Kenneth Crittenden was actually related to guys that worked for Chrysler when I did. So, stupid little thing there, but I thought it was pretty neat. Now, the controversial part of Crit, even though it was a very, very short-lived manufacturer, was they had a very controversial symbol. I know a lot of you know who it are, and I don't even know if we can say it. Grab a cat. Okay. We probably ought to get a badge. There's badges laying there somewhere. You want a badge? I'll go get a badge. Hold on. But number one needs a badge. We need a badge. All right, we're back with a badge. We'll go with the Stutz badge. How about the Stutz badge for tonight? Mike from Texas is here. Now, the symbol, hey, there's Scott, Rebel Driver. No, it looked bad, but it missed us, Scott. So too bad it hit you, but it did miss us. So we are going to do something on Sunday night. Brian, it will probably be an abbreviated version, but we will do something on Sunday night to at least recap the weekend. So we do plan on going live Sunday evening for a normal Sunday night live chat. Was the Crit logo that weird crooked cross? Yes, it is. And that's what we're going to talk about. The Lucky Cross used on the Crit motor car is one of the oldest good luck symbols known to mankind in all countries. The Crit was made in the USA, obviously 1909 to 1916. We just discussed that. Many years before Hitler started using the symbol. Hitler used the symbol for his political party in the first place because it meant good luck. I mean, that's why it was chosen, was it meant good luck. Native Americans, U.S. Native Americans called the symbol the four-legged cross and looked at it as four capital L's joined, one each for love, light, life, and of course, luck. So that's kind of really interesting when you look at the fact of that's what it really stood for. Luck, life, love. All those very important parts of our lives is what that symbol actually meant. Now, as far as the Crit goes, I found a little bit more information about it, but like I said, this stuff, Bill Wagaman's on here just for a bit. The Crit was a very short-lived car, and like I said, information is very, very tough to find. I found bits and pieces on a handful of websites to come up with just enough to talk about tonight. The company originally incorporated the symbol, which at the time was a symbol of prosperity and good fortune, into its brand emblem long before it became infamously associated with Hitler. During its existence, the company expanded its range to include compact two-seaters and larger four-cylinder touring cars. Despite these changes, Crit struggled to meet production targets, producing only a few hundred cars per year. A few hundred cars per year from 1910 till just the beginning of 1916. Against a planned capacity of 1,000 to 2,000 units per year is what they had planned. So basically they were producing 10% of what they had hoped for when they went into production. By 1915, the company could no longer compete with more established automakers and sales began to decline. A year later, in 1916, the company declared bankruptcy, ending its run. During this time, perfect, great. Scott got his video up on Rebel Driver's Garage from when he stopped by and visited a couple weeks ago. So if you haven't done it, we've talked about it. If you haven't done it, check out Rebel Driver's Garage. Check out what Scott's going on. Check out all of his junkyard crawls. Check out what he did while I was here. Like I said, Scott's a great dude. We hang out on Rocky Mountain Race Week together, have for several years. It was super fun to have him by. So be sure to check out Rebel Driver's Garage. Subscribe and check out his content. However, during this time, Crit managed to produce about 3,000 cars. Although the company gained attention for its original name and symbol, the story of Crit is an instructive example of the challenges faced by the small independent automakers. Peter from Down Under's here. Yeah, no kidding, Buick, man. About 3,000 cars were produced. Although the motor company, the Crit motor car logo features the symbol, the company has no connection to Germany whatsoever. The automaker used the provocative symbol in the mid-teens when it was not associated with Germany at all. And like I said, it was literally meant, it was a symbol of luck. The symbol had been around for thousands of years. Jim's here. Prior to this, we did talk about Crit a little bit, but I got a new Crit piece that we're going to talk about tonight. That's why we're getting into this. So the symbol, obviously, a symbol of good luck, of good fortune. And Peter wants to sign. All right, let me know. We'll get done here. Great. Brian caught Scott's video. Super cool. So, a symbol that had been around for literally thousands of years that meant nothing but positive things was literally destroyed in a short matter of 6 or 8 years by some people with twisted ideas. But anyway, the Crit, obviously one of those little tiny flashes in automotive history back in the teens and the 20s when I believe the United States got up to over 2,000, close to 2,500 different car manufacturers. And the Crit is one tiny sliver of that. So speaking of which, let's go ahead and get into these artifacts that I've got that are directly related to Crit. Now, the first one you've seen, the second one is going to be a new piece. But there again, just like number one said, that was a few years back. So I bet a lot of you guys probably haven't even seen the first piece before we even get to the second piece. So starting off with, this is a piece that we found several years ago that Addie and I were pretty excited about. We have an original grill shell and radiator out of a Crit. I'll see if we can lay this down so you guys can get a good look at it. It's going to be kind of tricky here. I guess you can kind of see it there. It is a little wonky here, but that's because of the hose connections on the back of it. So that is an original Crit radiator and grill shell with original badge or emblem. The badge is gone. This would have had an enamel badge up here. You can see that is missing. That did have the symbol on it. They also had this original Crit script on the radiator as well. There again, this is early teens. It's 22 inches and 26 inches up to the neck, 24 inches to the top. It is all original, and it is definitely a different piece. So there again, that piece is 110 years old. When Addie and I found it, we actually got that from the guy that we bought a ton of our badges from. Not this one. This one came from a different place, but you guys look thirsty. But the bulk of our badge collection came out of this place. That's right, number one, and that's another thing. Throw that up there. Everybody tell Pete thanks for helping out and getting this weekend put together. So we'll touch base on that a little bit more here in a little bit when we get done talking about the Crit. But this piece, like I said, we bought this 5 or 6 years ago. Addie and I had no idea what it was when we found it. But when we did a little bit of research and realized it was one of those little tiny, minute companies that had a very short lifespan, but were still an interesting piece of the American automotive history, it's like, man, that is so cool. So we managed to work a deal on that as well and add that to our collection. Now on the back, it's basically just the radiator with the hose connections. Nothing fancy back there. Just pretty much what you expect to see on the back of one of these old radiators. So that we did talk about a few years ago. However, I did just recently, a couple weeks ago, at an auction, come up with another crit piece. Sounds good, Peter. Can't wait to see you guys hanging out on the lives this weekend as well. But at an auction with a bunch of cool, well, the last auction I went to, we put threw a video up with a lot of cool tractor parts and license plates and some automobilia stuff. We did manage to add another crit piece to our collection. This is, I think, is really cool. There's a Stutz badge. And probably it's the most money that I've ever paid for a grease cap. I think it's a copper radiator, yeah. But this is, I'm sure this is the most I've ever paid for a single grease cap. But we already had this piece in our collection, and this piece I really had to have, and I was excited to be able to add this original crit grease cap with the 4 L's on it for life, light, love, and luck to our collection. Obviously, like a lot of these internal threads, basic standard grease cap with the hex on the sides of it, but original crit grease cap to go along with our grill shell. About 2 1/4 across the round part. A little under 2 inches tall. But a very unique piece. Billy Bowman's here. No, that could never be made today. There's absolutely no doubt that couldn't be made today. So, if the basic information that I found is correct, and like I said, there's very little info out there about a crit, but if what I found is true, and that there were roughly 3,000 cars. Oh, I'm sure they did, Peter. Yeah, I mean, it's so controversial now. I'm literally hoping this video doesn't get pulled down. Even though this is completely attempting to be nothing but a history lesson about the crit automobile. But like I said, it is definitely a controversial symbol, even though we're talking about old cars. So, love, light, life, and of course luck, a symbol that had been around for thousands of years, was literally destroyed within a few short years by some people with twisted ideas. But when we look at the overall scope of things, there were around 3,000 crits made. So, when you look back and realize we're talking about something from 110 years ago, that means there were roughly 3,000 of these produced. And roughly 12,000 of these produced. So you think, well, that's not extremely rare. No, that's not extremely rare. Those are probably out there. 3,000 grill shells. Not a lot of those out there. Bert's got a joke. Well, glad you're able to hang out for a while. So not something very common. Not something you're going to come across very often. But super cool pieces. As you well know, and the reason you guys are on here is we love automotive history. We love the stories. We love the information. And to be able to look back and learn some of that stuff, that's what we're here for. And that's a perfect way to put it, Peter. Some people can't separate things. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this video does not get pulled down because it is strictly a history lesson. That's all it is. And I'm super excited to be able to have these artifacts in our collection and be able to share them with you. We've done a lot of cool grease caps on here. We've had a lot of fun with them. So this one I thought was super cool. And like I said, definitely more than I've ever paid for a single grease cap ever. But knowing we already having this piece in our collection, being able to add this piece to it, I was really excited about it. So when you think about that there were 3,000 cars made and now there are like 15 million sold in the United States every year, not a very common thing. So that's right, Buick, man. And that's why history should always be learned from. Number one's getting thirsty again. I'm going to wear this Stutz badge out right out of the gate. So, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. A little bit different, definitely controversial. Just hope the video doesn't get pulled down because I'm just trying to share what I learned, the very spotty bits and pieces I can learn, and be able to tie that all together with a little piece of history in our old car world. So anyway, what do we have for signs tonight? What are we supposed to do next on signs, guys? I don't remember. I know, did we do the license plates last week? We got to do the Plymouth sign now, or I don't remember. Things are kind of blurring right now. So anyway, obviously the Gathering of the Nobodies coming up this weekend. Frank made it. Was talking to Pete just before we jumped on. Pete's going to send out another updated email tonight, and we'll probably send out another one tomorrow or the next day, kind of keeping you guys updated with what's going on. I'm getting some things picked up. Still got a ways to go, and please don't expect everything to be the Taj Mahal, guys, because I ain't going to get everything cleaned up. But it has given me a good reason to make a lot of progress. So follow the wall after the plates. So that would be the Plymouth sign will be next. So, okay, we'll catch the Plymouth sign here in a minute. But definitely looking forward to you guys coming. If you guys still want, if it looks like you guys are going to be able to make it, especially some of you local guys that haven't signed up yet, please let Pete know. And, excuse me. So we are better prepared and ready for everybody this weekend. Like we've talked about, I did talk to Charles today. He plans on being at the brewery right around 3 or 3:30. So if any of you guys do get in early, that's where Charles kind of manipulated his afternoon to where he could be done early at a decent time and be down at the brewery. So Ryan is going to try to have our logo up on the screen in the little meeting room so you guys will know where to go. Rico and Pete both planning on getting in an earlier Friday to help finish setting up. So hopefully I've gotten most stuff picked up. There's Martin with us. That's where we don't have a lot to do Friday. Tractor Mike is talking about bringing some cars with him. So depending on when he gets here, we may have to run to the yard and unhook his trailer. So we'll have to play that by ear as well. So anyway, let's go ahead and catch another sign. And then we'll get ready to wrap up. If you guys have any more questions about this weekend, be sure to throw them up as we get to time to check out this sign. So we're going to go up a bit again and check out this Plymouth sign. There she is. This is a panel out of a 60s, 70s era Plymouth dealership. It's about 6 feet long, I believe. Backlighted. It is in a frame. Somebody actually put this one in a frame. The lens looks great. It's not busted up. There's dirty. Not busted up. Good color. Great looking Plymouth sign that, and there again, some of this plastic stuff, guys, a lot of people still don't like plastic. I love it. I think it's great. It's going to be harder to find than the porcelain stuff. This stuff is not going to last like porcelain stuff did. So I'm definitely excited about it, and I definitely snag it when I can find it to add to my sign collection. But you can see it is the blue with the white letters, the old school font. 60s, 70s era. I think this was used up into the 80s. But a great looking sign. And when that thing's lit up, it's awesome. All right, let's catch a few get caught up on comments, and we'll talk about where that came from. Plymouth trucks, yeah, those are cool. Jeff likes it. Yeah, I think it's a great sign. Well, they made Plymouth pickups back in the 20s and 30s, and then, of course, trail dusters in the 70s. So, but that sign actually, believe it or not, about 10 years ago, that popped up on a local classified site. Now, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with it, but Walter P. Chrysler was actually born in a little town called Ellis, Kansas, about 60 miles from Great Bend. They do have a boyhood home museum there. So, it's a pretty cool place. They don't have a lot of cars there, just one or two, but it's basically a museum of his boyhood home. My buddy Mike Keller, Big Creek Restorations, has a shop there. And so occasionally get up there. But about 10 years ago, that sign in the wooden frame backlit popped up on a local classified site for sale. Someone had donated all of those panels out of a dealership sign to the museum. So that's right, Mercury had a pickup. They were Canadian. Looked just like an F100, but it said Mercury or M100 on it. So that sign was advertised. And so I called the guy and he said, yeah, we've got all of them. We've got Dodge trucks. They got the same panel in blue with a Pentastar, the same panel in red with a Pentastar. And these were actually used up in the late 80s because they also had, not only did they have Dodge trucks, Plymouth, Chrysler, they actually had Jeep and Eagle as well. And they had a whole stack of these panels. And so I said, what are you going to do with them? I said, well, we're just going to build cases for them and light them and sell them as a fundraiser for the museum. So I said, well, what do you want for them? I just went and bought them all. So I got that one that was already done. The rest of them they didn't have cases built for. I just bought all of them. So I've got those panels stacked out at the yard. And pretty neat pieces. There's Dan from Defiance. Glad Dan's here with us tonight. Don't try and keep up with Tractor Mike. He is a seasoned professional. That is very, very true, Dan. There is zero doubt that Tractor Mike is a seasoned professional. Do not try to keep up. That's right, Fargo was the Canadian version of the Dodge pickup. Dirty forgot about Eagle, yeah. And in fact, you ought to go back and check out the actual hand-drawn watercolor sketch of what was probably the last Eagle, the last AMC designed car, the last Eagle design that was never built. We've done that on some Toy Tuesdays as well. I've got that piece in the office. So it's pretty cool stuff. And I love that sign. I think it's great. I can't tell you how many people have seen it in a video or seen it in a Toy Tuesday and called me wanting to buy it. But I think it's great. I think it's a great piece, and I don't really have any reason at all to get rid of that. So yep. The last, if you didn't catch it, I did it on a Toy Tuesday, but it's been a while back. But I believe it was the last AMC car ever designed that was never built. So it came out of Chrysler, and it was a hand sketch with artist signature on it for what would have been. The Eagle Vision came out on the first LH platform in 92 or 93. When they revamped the LH platform for 98, there was an Eagle Vision sketched, and I believe that is the sketch that I've got. However, the car never made it into production, and there were no other Eagle cars built after that. Obviously, Chrysler bought AMC for one reason and one reason only, and that was Jeep. No reason to make yet another car on the LH platform when you already had Dodge and Chrysler selling them. So it never made it to production. So that's a cool piece. If you're interested in that type of history, be sure to check that out too. It's on a former Toy Tuesday from a few years back. So that being said, guys, I guess we're getting ready to wind this thing up. Friday's going to be here before you know it. 2 days. Tomorrow and Thursday, and then Friday we kick this deal off. Friday morning, some of you guys are going to start heading to Great Bend, Kansas, which is awesome. Some of you guys are coming up Saturday morning. That's great too. We're going to have a lot of fun, and looking forward to it. There's a couple things around here I'd sell, but not very much. There's a couple things next door I would sell, but not very much. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll take one last look at these iconic pieces of history for tonight. The Crit Grill radiator shell and emblem, as well as the Crit grease cap, built from basically 1910 to 1915. Very low production, and something you don't see very often at all. What time will the lives be? Good question, Jeff. We will do Friday night roughly at 7. Instead of posting an episode, we're planning on going live from the brewery with whoever's there. It may just be me, Pete, and Rico, and Charles. I don't know. We'll see who's here by 7 o'clock Sunday night. So 7 o'clock Friday night, we'll do a live from the brewery. Saturday, we will try to do, it's going to depend. Depending on how busy I get, and depending on what Grant plans on shooting for his channel, Straight Six Fan, I'm going to have Grant help me with some of that. We will try to do something in the morning, maybe between 9 and 10 as people get there, and see what we can kick off then. Depending on if everybody's there around 9 or 9:30 or how things go, we're going to kind of have to play that by ear. But we will definitely try to do something mid-morning Saturday, depending on when people are coming in and how things flow out. And give you a quick walk around of what's going on, maybe introduce you to some of the other viewers, and do some of that, and then try to get something in the afternoon as well. We'll just kind of have to play it by ear and see how it goes, because we've never done this before. So I really don't know what to expect for sure either, but I know I'm looking forward to it, and I'm just hoping everybody shows up. So Nut Farm made it. I just hate to go through all this work and all the people that have stepped up to help out. We got a county commissioner bringing us appetizers Friday night. My buddy Mark doing smoked brisket for lunch. No problem, Scott. You're always welcome. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know what to tell you for sure, because I don't know what the heck we're doing. But we're going to figure it out, and we will do some lives on Saturday. But the first thing we're going to shoot for is doing a 7 o'clock Friday night instead of posting a video. So anyway, with that, I'm going to jump off here. I'm going to go clean up some more stuff, pick up a few more things so that not everything looks like a disaster. There will be plenty of disasters, but trying to pick up a few more things. A Zoom meeting be doable sometime in the future? It'd be tough depending on who wanted to be on it. So Brian's here. But anyway, one more time, we'll give you the Stutz badge. And we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. I'm going to get back to work. I can't believe it's here. I can't believe it's this week. The Gathering of the Nobody starting Friday. Can't wait to see everybody. And like I said, even you guys that can't make it, we'll be bringing some lives. We may grab a few guys so you can actually get to see them in person as well and see how this is all going to work. We'll know more Sunday night when we get on and talk about it on Sunday Night Live Chat at 7. But anyway, with that being said, have a great week, everybody. And I'm going to get back to work and getting everything ready. Z-Bear made it right here at the end. But it's going to be a great weekend. Can't wait to see you guys here. Thanks for watching tonight. I don't think we're going to hit 20K by the 20th. We still got a long ways to go. It would take something pretty big to happen in the next 3 days to do that. But it was a good idea. Number one had a good idea, so we gave it a shot. But we're still working our way there. We'll get to those 20,000 subs here soon because of your guys' support, love, and appreciation. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'm going to get to work. We'll see you live Friday night. Have a great week. We'll catch you soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.